outcries continue over the death of George Floyd. Last night, people protesting in
Stop
Minneapolis
letting people talk you out of your power.
How do we build a movement that allows us to respond to all the names that people don't know?
People begin to think it's isolated. That's the problem. We're not angry enough.
This is Life After the Impact, a podcast for impacted families by impacted families that focuses on what happens after the media, the lawyers, and the activists are gone.
When the cameras are gone, people leave. We have to be there for each other.
Impacted families are left to face the loss of a loved one to police-sponsored violence. We will focus on their continued fight for justice and how you can get involved.
I tell families, fight.
Everybody can do something, that you don't have to sit home and feel helpless and hopeless.
We gotta stop allowing people to talk us out of our power. That's the main thing.
Can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead, start here.
Yeah, because I think if you turn them off, that means you're guilty, period.
Well, and I saw an interview in regards to my son, because, Kim Potter came in after my son's murder and told those officers to turn their body worn cameras off. And when I saw one of the news stories about one of the people on the other side talking about this is what he said. He said the reason for the body worn cameras is to capture the interaction with the public. So his logic was, once that murder's happened and then we've turned it off, then we're done dealing with the public. Now we're, trying to do our little cover up. Just my words.
Damage control. They're trying to damage control.
Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, being in that situation, it's as important as to see what happened that took my son from me, but it's almost as important or more important to see what happened exactly afterwards.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Roxanne Johnson. My son's name is Jamal Byrd. He was murdered by DC Metropolitan Police, October the 1st, 2019. I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Latoya. Good evening, Latoya.
Hey, Roxanne, you guys, hi. My name is Latoya Benton. I'm the mother of Xavier Hill. Xavier was killed by two Virginia State Troopers January the 9th, 2021 at the age of 18. Tonight, we are honored to be joined by Mrs. Katie Wright. Katie, you want to give a brief intro to yourself, please?
Hi, Roxanne. Hi, Latoya. Thank you very much for having me on the show this evening. My name is Katie Wright. I am the mother of Dante Wright, who was killed at the age of 20 by Brooklyn Center Police in Minnesota. It was April 11th, 2021. He was killed during a traffic stop. When he was being pulled over, he was being pulled over for an air freshener and expired tabs. Where the officer then said she was pulling her taser instead of her gun. But she did pull her gun and shot my son and killed him at the age of 20.
Yes, we are so sorry for your loss. We also have with us Amity.
Yes.
How are you doing this evening, Amity?
I'm fine. Nice to see you guys again. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. We'd like to just remind our audience of who you are.
Yes, I am Amity Dimmick. I'm the mother of Kobe Dimmick Heisler. Kobe was a 21-year-old autistic boy, and Brooklyn Center Police also murdered my son August 31st, 2019, so about a year and a half before Dante. Call had been reversed. Everything was fine when they got there, and chose to shoot him 6 times in his own home in front of his grandmother. So here I am, and I work with Katie every day trying to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else's loved one.
Thanks. Wow. Well, we're glad that you are with us today. We always say that nobody wants to be a part of this sorority fraternity that we have of losing loved ones to police state-sponsored violence. But it is that this is the reality, And what we like to do on this podcast is talk about what actions that individuals or families or organizations are taking to work through these issues and like you said, to ensure that other people's family don't have the same reality. So tell us a little bit about what's going on in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, where they are.
Well, real fast, Roxanne, before we even go there real fast, I just want to talk about real fast, kind of like how it intertwines, because I think a lot of people have heard about Dante's case. Some people may have not heard about Dante's case. So I kind of want to give Katie that opportunity to, to kind of elaborate a little bit more about what happened to Dante's case, because we know that that before we talk about what y'all doing in Minnesota as far as why you're doing it, I want to talk about, briefly what they did not charge her with, you know what I'm saying, and the purpose as to why you guys are doing what you're doing right now. So can you kind of like say it like that, if you could, Katie?
Yeah, for sure. So a couple weeks after my son was killed, they did charge the police officer for shooting my son. They charged her with manslaughter 1 and 2. We went through the whole trial case. It took from December 2023 until February of 2020. No, sorry, December 2021 until February 2022. We went through the trial and then the sentencing. So she was only found guilty of, she was found guilty of both, not only, but found guilty of both, and was charged or sentenced to 14 months in prison. They gave her it's called a downward departure. We were looking for an upward departure, giving her at least the minimum, which the minimum standard guideline for what she was charged and found guilty of would have been 7.5 years in prison. So anybody else who was charged with what she was charged with, she would have done 7.5 years. But unfortunately, the judge felt sorry for her and cried during her sentencing and gave her a downward departure, which went below the standard guidelines because she was.
The judge cried during her sentencing? The judge cried?
The judge cried.
Wow.
Yep. So the jury found her guilty of both charges, but the judge cried and she was so upset and distraught that she actually had to sentence her. If it wasn't for public pressure, I believe the judge would not have sentenced her at all. The judge would have gave her no time, but she knew that there was so much public pressure during her case, the killing of my son, that she felt obligated at that point because she knew what would, with the community being so involved and it being public and live streamed while they were doing that. She said, hey, we have to give her some kind of time. So she served her time and she was released a couple weeks after my son's anniversary of this last year. So April 2023. She is currently with her family, living off a $5,000 a month pension for the rest of her life. And she is also in this moment speaking at engagements, talking about how to de-escalate situations during a high critical circumstance with policing. Let's not forget that she was a training officer for 24 years in Brooklyn Center. She trained police officers. The day that she killed my son, she was training a rookie police officer.
Same thing with this case. It was a training officer as well. It was the exact same thing. Keep going, Katie.
Yep. So she currently is I don't know if she's going back into training. There's an agency called Law Enforcement Training. So let's back up just a little bit. So when she was charged, they wanted to send the case to Washington County, which is a county in Minnesota, very racist white county. And community members, activists, community leaders were like, oh, heck no, that's not happening. You're not doing that. We wanted to stay in Hennepin County. They were giving us the runaround like, okay, well, George Floyd's case was still going on. They just didn't have enough time to take it. but with public pressure and with family pushing, Hennepin County ended up taking it. The two prosecutors that were from Washington County that ended up not being able to prosecute it because we just got an icky feeling about them anyways. Not to mention community was like, oh, these are the worst people that could be handling this case. She's not going to get charged or sentenced. So what happened was the one prosecutor actually passed away about a year after. The other prosecutor is now working with Kim Potter, and he is the one that is hosting all these events that she's speaking at, which the next event is May 6th. Yep, May 6th in Indianapolis, Indiana. So that's where she'll be speaking at the not the Marriott. Where is she speaking at, Amity? The Hilton in Indianapolis.
So now let's fast forward to the reason why you guys are doing what you're doing, because we got the backdrop of all the bullshit that they're doing. Let's fast forward to as to why you guys, as to how you and Amity hooked up, and as why you guys are doing what you're doing.
So the day that my son was killed, I always say that I'll not cry when I talk about this. It's only been 3 years, so I still cry every time. But the day that I was watching my son just lay on the ground, all I remember is Amity coming up to me, and I don't remember anything else, but I remember just bits and pieces of what happened, and Amity coming up to me with a big medallion that said Kobe on it. And she kept trying to get my attention, and she didn't want to, but her husband was pushing her so bad to say, hey, you need to tell her our story, because Kim Potter was the officer, the officer that showed up at the scene when Kobe was killed and told the police officers to turn their body-worn cameras off.
Wow.
So she was trying to cover up Kobe's murder, and Amity and I met her the day of. She came to the crazy scene of people everywhere, police officers, SWAT, like it looked like just out of a movie. I just couldn't imagine just standing there, but the only thing I remember is Amity coming up to me, walking up with that big Kobe medallion. Speaking of which, Amity, I haven't seen that medallion for a while.
Look what they went through. I don't know these people. Why does she want it? I'm not gonna go talk to her. I mean, like, God, just let them have their moment. I mean, it was so, standing there, just crying. I know the feeling she was feeling, and I couldn't imagine having that feeling out in public on a street. She had a blanket around her, and I mean, I was just mortified that it happened. We had just left. We had just been at a rally for another Angelversary for Justin Tigan, and Kobe's uncle was over in Brooklyn Center, found out what happened, called my ex-husband. My ex-husband called me because he knew it was at the rally. He said, get up there and tell those people who are on the microphones what just happened. And that's exactly what we did. John ran up and told them, and me and John ran, and we hopped into the car. We were among the first people there. So
you're like a first responder to her then, right?
What's that?
Like a first responder then.
Yeah, yep. As far as the social justice side of it goes, because we all need people to respond real quick. And really what John wanted me to make sure Katie had was a way to contact Mayor Mike Elliott, then mayor at the time, and also to be able to communicate to be able to reach out to Michelle Gross with Communities United Against Police Brutality, and he would not leave me alone until I handed her that information.
And that's the important part. So I think we talk about it all the time. When these things happen, to be able to have those. It happens and no one has anybody to turn to. So it's important to have those connections as far as how we move forward. Let's talk about a little bit of this bill that you guys have gotten written up, and the process of what happened with that. How did that get started?
So May of 2021, a couple months after Dante was killed, Mayor Mike Elliott was the mayor of Brooklyn Center at the time. He put forward it was called the Dante and Kobe Community Safety and Violence Prevention Resolution. And what that pertains to is making changes in Brooklyn Center. So that way Brooklyn Center can continue to move forward to keep community safe and not allow what happened to Kobe or Dante to anybody else. So if we can prevent those, he put it in this resolution. So the resolution was to do quite a few things within Brooklyn Center. So one was to start a community and safety violence prevention team. The other one, there was a lot that was in this resolution. Amity, there's a lot of pieces to it. Do you remember?
So it would create a permanent oversight committee, which we haven't gotten to yet. When it started, they named Katie as chair of the traffic stop policy work group. So that looked at low-level traffic stops and consent search policies, and also was going to look at no-knock warrants, but I believe that was dealt with at a state level with an Amir Lock bill. And so they created a committee, implementation committee, to implement these ideas that we had. And then they named myself as chair of what we call the expanded response work group. And that would make it so that there would be a more appropriate responder going to specifically mental health calls, but then also all the other calls, like, if the dogs across the street are bothering me, or my neighbors blowing their leaves into my yard, or, just a whole bunch of these types of interactions that happen day to day that we don't need a armed, militarized, angry, we know that so many of the cops act like they're waging war on the community. We don't need that in a bunch of these situations because they escalate. And so we were tasked, the implementation committee was tasked with coming up with these recommendations to propose to the city and city council for them to vote on. And well, that was a whole mess. The city was strategically incapacitating us pretty much every step of the way. And then where we're at right now, go ahead.
I wanted you to explain the pieces of the resolution, not the departments that we were creating, because the resolution had like 7 different things. So yeah, there was a few of them on there. I just can't remember what they all were.
But was it kind of like you guys are building? It sounds like a citizen review board or whatnot. Is that kind of like the same thing in a sense?
Yeah. That was part of it. And then, like Amity said, we did have the 2 departments, which was the traffic stop policies and then the expanded response. There was a lot of other things that were in that resolution that Brooklyn Center did not follow through with, though. And I just, right off the top of my head, I'm not sure what it is.
States that had gotten the approval for the board as well, though. Are you guys one of the states that had gotten it? Well, you both have the CRC board, right?
We're both on the committee. We're both on the implementation committee. So we sat on that, and then now we sit as chairs on the other committees, which are separate. So they're part of the resolution at whole. But we were tasked to make recommendations. My piece of it would make recommendations as to traffic stops. So we recommended to city council to stop having police officers pull people over for minor traffic violations, which would be air freshener, broken tail light, broken headlight, expired tabs, what else? Loud muffler. So all of these pieces that obviously don't keep community safe. It's only a way to racially profile our community, especially Brooklyn Center. Now, let's not forget, Brooklyn Center is one of the highest diverse city in Minnesota. It has the biggest diversity, but you can't tell that from the way Brooklyn Center is acting. And you definitely can't tell that from the way Brooklyn Center Police Department looks. So we put that together. We recommended, we've jumped through fire hoops. We have bent over backwards. They have had us sit, and one of the hardest things as a parent that has lost a child to police is to sit in the same room with the police that have
Yep.
killed a kid, but they want you to do this because guess what? If you don't do it, you're not going to make the changes because we need to have police on board. Amity and I have done that for almost 3 years for them to vote no to us. They voted no. 2 voted yes, 3 voted no to the policies that we presented for the traffic stops. So traffic stops did not go through. Now, mind you, also, we embedded that into our settlement agreement. So obviously our settlement is done. We sued the city of Brooklyn Center. The most important piece of our settlement was the non-monetary. They could have kept all their money and shoved it right up their ass. I don't care about that. But what I do care about is the non-monetary. So we put it into our settlement agreement that Brooklyn Center Police are going to do training on bias training, de-escalation training. They are also going to push through the resolution, implement it, and make sure that they're doing the traffic stops and the expanded response piece of it. All of that was written into the settlement. And they still haven't followed through with any of that. And by them voting no was a violation.
Is it valid? Is this
That-
a contract?
Yeah, it's a violation of our contract. So now we are currently looking at that and what we can do to obviously turn around and sue them and bring it to court and say, hey, judge, they have not followed through with their settlement agreement. They were supposed to do this, this, and this. Police have done absolutely nothing. We literally just fought to have a Blue Lives Matter flag taken down in the roll call room in Brooklyn Center that had KP on it for Kim Potter.
No.
We had to fight to get that taken down. We had to have community talk. We had to ask for them to take it down. It literally sat up there for the last 3 years and we didn't even know about it until somebody had told us about it.
Can I go back and ask you a question about the demographics of Brooklyn Center?
Yes.
Very diverse area. Is it a suburb or a part of the urban area known as Minneapolis, or kind of give me an idea of how that looks?
Yes, Brooklyn Center, it literally borders Minneapolis. So North Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center, they're within blocks. So when Minneapolis will pull people over in a certain part of Minneapolis, if it's North Minneapolis, Brooklyn Center will show up as well. They share the same right there on the same blocks. So they are very connected to Minneapolis. A lot of people from Minneapolis will shop, worship, bus. That we have a transit that is a pretty big transit center that will get people from Minneapolis to other suburbs in Minnesota. So people are going through Brooklyn Center from all over Minnesota, to be honest. There's so many cities that are surrounding Brooklyn Center.
And do you know the demographics of the people who have been harmed by Brooklyn Center Police within the last?
So within the last, I believe, 12 years, 7 people have been killed by Brooklyn Center police officers. No, 6, sorry, it was either 6 or 7. And 5 of them are a Black person or a person of color.
Yeah, I suspected that. And I just wanted to, because what's going to be important in this fight too is the data, getting data that supports what we're saying. Because I mean, when you all were explaining that whole resolution, it sounds like they were jerking your chain from the beginning.
That's all they were doing. They literally were. It was
no intention on passing this. So now that they didn't pass it, what's your next recourse? What's your next thing to do?
We're going to continue to bring it to City Council. We can. At first, we thought we could only bring it once a year to the City Council, but we can bring it every single time. If we can get the city manager to put us on the agenda, we can introduce the changes, recommend changes that we have always proposed, and we can continue to ask for it. At this time, before, when the resolution was passed, we had 4 vote yeses and 1 vote no. 2 of those, well, the mayor was actually voted off after that. So we know that what that tells you, right? They got a strong Black man out of office because he was doing the right thing. So they had to get rid of him. So they did that, unfortunately. And that was one of our yes votes. Now they have, and then another one was Dan Ryan, which was a city council member. He was another just horrible person sitting on that. Well, his seat was up as well. Well, unfortunately, the 2 seats that we had up, they are now worse than what was in there before. So now, even if we continue to bring it to them, it's just going to keep getting down.
So we got to work on those 2 seats, which are coming up. So we got to get people into those seats.
Right. And that goes part to, you know, when it comes to being strategic, you know, and like putting the power behind the right people and stuff, because a lot of times we can't just, like you just said, even if you guys be pushing the bill, if the people who are in office right now are not going to be on your side, you kind of like know it's almost like a waste of time because they're going to still knock it down anyway. So, you know, it's about strategic about, you know, who can be in that seat that can fulfill it. But again, so that goes back to the problem of it being systemic, right?
Yeah. And you got to remember too, the people that are the loudest in Brooklyn Center right now are the old white people. Like they're the people that have been there for so long. They're the constituents of the city council members. They're the ones that are voting right now. And we just, it all falls back on that, right? You have to be strategic. You have to plan. You have to organize. And yeah.
I think a lot of times they'll have these meetings and you go to city, like you just said, you go to city council and you go to these meetings, and this is like not just Brooklyn Center. We went to one in Richmond not so long ago, right? And I went to this meeting, it was full of old ass white folks. And it's like, well, damn, that's who's representing the city of Norfolk. Like, I know some Black folks around here, but the problem is that when it's time to go to these meetings, the concerned citizens that are there concerned, they're not showing up to these meetings to make the real change. So we can complain about things and whatnot. We're not gonna be in the room to make the real live change. We went to an event this past weekend. It was only a few of us in the room who wasn't already aware about the event. It's like, where's the community at? Why is the community being made aware of where to be at in order to make the change?
Well, that's intentional, because if they don't get the community, if they don't get the people who really are impacted by the change, but they get these people who just want to keep things status quo, it's intentional. It's by design. The system is working as designed. We say that all the time, but that's why we have to disrupt this bullshit. It's bullshit. I will say that Kim Potter was out training people on how to get away with murder, because that's exactly what she did. She got away with murder. And so if it had been you and me, we still, twice. If it had been you and me, we still be somewhere in a maximum security where you won't be able to find us. But because she got a badge on, all of a sudden there's a different set of circumstances. No, there needs to be more accountability because you have a badge on.
Yeah, there's people in Minnesota right now doing more time for a small amount of marijuana than she did for killing my son, for killing Kobe. There's a 20-year-old, my friend, as a matter of fact, my son's friend, he's doing more time in jail for not even an ounce of marijuana than what she is doing for murder, for killing somebody. It's absolutely insane. And you're right. Unfortunately, in Brooklyn Center, Black people are scared to speak up and talk because of the way that they know the repercussions and what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you, so we have a couple people that have spoke up and that have talked at city council. We've had police follow them home. We've had people threatening them on Facebook. We've brought this to city council numerous of times, and there's nothing that we can do about it. There's actually a city council member's husband that has threatened to damage and vandalize my son's memorial. And actually threatened, there's a police officer, 2 police officers that have threatened community members numerous of times, and they do absolutely nothing about it. And people know that, and they're not going to show up and say anything until it changes within the city, but it's not going to change within the city unless people show up and say something. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and I don't know what we do, but the few of us that are not afraid to show up and speak, because we have to. Amity and I can't stop talking in Brooklyn Center because they killed our babies. We have to continue to speak and continue to talk and continue to make them uncomfortable until it changes. And we'll continue to do that as long with 2 people behind us or 50 people behind us.
So
We got each other.
yeah. So what are your next strategically? What do you plan to you're gonna bring this back up? But are you're gonna wait until after you vote these two people out that you know are not for it? What's the strategy?
Well, Amity and I have actually started a nonprofit called Dante and Kobe No More Names Initiative. So we are going to continue to bring everything to Brooklyn Center under that org. And what we are doing is our focus is to make sure, again, that this doesn't happen to anybody else. So making these changes at the legislation, making these changes at local levels, allowing a safe space for anybody who has been harmed by police in Brooklyn Center to be able to know what's your next steps, right? Whether it's, getting them connected with an attorney or, any organizations that can help them. So that's what we're doing right now. We just got up and running, so we're still in the middle of getting all of that together, but just making sure that we continue to push that. And then also we have a movie with documentary that was made, and it's called Mama. So there was 3 mothers in Minnesota that have been harmed by the system, whether it was, so Miss Delshia, her son was killed in jail and neglected care. And then obviously Amity with Kobe, who was killed during a mental health crisis, and then Dante, who was killed during a traffic stop. So you have 3 pieces of our system that has harmed people in different aspects, right? So we have this documentary coming out. We're doing our movie premiere in March 22nd. Amity, is March 22nd?
Yep, Friday, March 22nd, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yeah. So
and we actually did the Hollywood premiere at the Chinese Theater in Hollywood. I believe that was February or March of 2023. So that was pretty cool. And just so everybody knows, and not that we actually wanted these things to happen in this order, but it is what it is. But it is currently available streaming on multiple services. So like Amazon, Apple TV, Spectrum, Comcast, Vubiquity, never even heard of that. We have a flyer somewhere that has all that on there. But what we really need people to do is to purchase and or rent that, so that it will get picked up by even bigger streaming services like a Netflix or a Hulu or an HBO and whatnot.
So I think the goal you guys are using that as far as like a media out kind of tell the story, right? I think part of I hear you all mention Brooklyn Center a lot as far as saying that's what happens in that area, but I think we want to also not forget too that we can't forget that they want us to kind of believe that these are isolated incidences and these only happen in these certain areas, right? And what exact episode we're on as far as the podcast is concerned. I know it might be 46. I'm not sure. I might be about 46, right? Something like that. But I just know that we've had at least 46 guests on here, and all our stories sound very identical. Even when it comes to people harassing their loved ones, they're harassing, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like it's a routine thing, right? We hear, I swear we hear the exact, and then each time we talk to somebody, they have this mindset where they think it only happens in their state or their city or whatever. And I think they want us to kind of feel like that. Because I tell people all the time, okay, let's say you and Katie were to fix Brooklyn Center tomorrow. You guys were to fix and were to eliminate police brutality in Brooklyn Center tomorrow. We still fight over here in Virginia. We still fight over here in Maryland. They still fighting down there in Florida, right? So it's kind of like we gotta still realize that whatever we're going through in one area, I promise you, it's probably very identical in another area also, another state too.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think too, the biggest thing is people always show up when there's blood on the street, right? The minute you lose your loved one, everybody's there. Everybody is fighting in full force. And people sometimes forget, like, our fight never stops. It's going to continue. So we need people to continue to show up, because not only did we fight to get, and there's so many families that are still fighting just to even get accountability. So not only are you trying to get that accountability, even after you get accountability, whatever they call it and whatever that looks like, you're still fighting to continue to make changes. You're still fighting to keep your legacy alive. You're still fighting to continue to show up for other families and help other families, not only, like you said, not only in Minnesota, but so many, it's happening in every single state across the United States. It's not a Minnesota problem. It's a system problem, and it doesn't matter where you live. And that's the main thing. Like, people just need to continue to show up, not just when the blood is fresh.
They have to realize, I think people have this self-interest thing for themselves, right? And unfortunately, if they're not able to connect themselves with, some people can, and like for a moment they connect with us. I'll never forget this. One of the guys who was walking with us, and the moment Dante got killed, right? Now keep in mind, they got killed in January. Dante got killed in April. So this is still fresh for me as well when they got killed. I remember a few of our supporters going to Minnesota, and I was like, well, I'm confused. Like, how are we? I asked them, said, y'all going to Minnesota? They were like, yeah. I said, wait, I'm confused. If you guys shifted, how do we still, make sure that it was just confusing for me at the time as far, but then now I understand the connection of how we begin to realize, okay, it is happening here in Virginia. It's happening here in Minnesota too, but how do we connect those things together to understand that the energy can be shifted, but it cannot die down. That's what the issue, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all shift the whole group, and then y'all disappear. It's like, hey, where the hell did they go?
That's because people have the attention span of a gnat. That's why, and that is intentionally too. And y'all, and grown-ups, we need to focus on focusing more. Okay, you can do more than one thing at a time, and you can focus on one thing. But this particular fight is a fight that is very angst-ridden. It creates a lot of anxiety and depression and all this stuff. So we know that it is you're prone to be burnt out with this, right? But that's why we need more people. We need more people to join this fight, because when I feel like I'm burnt out, I can tap on Latoya's energy. When Latoya feels like she's burnt out, she can tap on Amity's energy. Amity feels like she's burnt out, she can tap on Katie's energy. And that's what we need to do, is to forge these these connections so that we can fight with all our power, with all our.
And not only that, but to not wait until it happens to you either. Like, you have to get in the fight before, like. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm going to be honest, I never marched one march in my whole entire life, but then my son dies and it's a whole different world. And it's like, if more people would show up prior to it happening, because it could happen to anybody. Don't wait for it to happen to you. Stop it from happening to you. Stop it from happening to you. And we could definitely just move mountains if that happened.
We got to be more proactive than being retroactive. And I speak all the time, because, like, I say again too, people like to kind of like weigh that little guilt on people and say, hey, what was you doing for your son got killed, right? And it's like, listen, if I didn't have, let's say if I was the doctor tomorrow, doctor said I got cancer, right? My focus then will be on the cancer. It doesn't matter when I got started. It matters that I did get started. Right? Yeah. Lots of people too, it's like, hey, we're trying to keep telling you guys over and over and over again what's going on for you to get started. It's not a guilt trip about how long you've been doing something. That's fine. It's a matter of, have you gotten started? Are you consistent in the fight? Because it's for humanity. You can't bring Dante back. I can't bring Xavier back. Roxanne cannot bring Jamal back. And we can bring Kobe back. But we can also fight for because right now we're fighting a system that is designed for us to fail, so all of us keep moving forward.
Yeah. It's super important that people show up too, not only for the high profile cases. Like, everybody wants to run to these high profile cases. There was so many more names before George Floyd. There was so many more names before Dante Wright. There was so many more names before Breonna Taylor. And if people would have showed up for the ones that didn't get all the media attention, then we don't leave media to do any more work, right? Because they can't show up if people aren't getting killed. So you have to continue to fight for everybody, because nobody's story is bigger or smaller than the rest of them.
Yep.
Yeah. So the media is implicit in making us think that these things are one off, right? That's what they do. Oh, here's this one off horrific thing that happened. No, but we know that this is not a one off. This is a epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
It's an epidemic. Yeah. Yeah. Do we have any pictures of Dante and Kobe we can show the audience? Because we like to talk about people. We like to be, hey. So beautiful young man, Dante, 21 years old.
All right, now before we get wrapped up tonight, Mel, is that clip gonna be able to play?
Yes, give me 1 second.
All right, perfect. So you guys, we're gonna end the show tonight with the clip from a trailer actually from Mama. And I will say I actually was able to find it on Hulu. So you can go on Hulu to support this trailer. Y'all go on there and watch all that Temu bullshit. So make sure you go on Hulu and download this trailer from Mama.
Apple or Amazon? It's not on Hulu yet.
No, I was on
Is it?
Yeah, I was on I don't have I saw it on my TV the other day. I'm telling you, I did.
Oh, well then don't listen to me. That's good.
I'm not so just keep in mind, y'all, the whole part of the media, right? We are the news. So and again, y'all watch all other BS on TV or not, be sure to watch this movie on just look it up yourself on whatever stream that you can find it on. Mel, if you're ready to go and play that clip, let's go and get that rolling, please.
He was a month old in this picture. So happy to be a mother. And Ardell was my only child.
Kobe, he was 21 years old, the first baby, the first love of my life. He was on the autism spectrum.
About a half hour before he called me, said, "Mom, I need some money for a car wash." He was supposed to come back later on that day.
You're under arrest, Dante. Just stay back.
When Ardell was in Beltrami County Jail, he had not yet been convicted of any crime. He was in the process of taking his case to trial.
He says, I need to go to the hospital, but they think I'm faking. They think I'm lying, Ma. I couldn't help my baby.
Ardell told me, please don't leave me alone with the officers.
I never imagined, not for 1 minute, that my family would be put into this fight. I wish that it didn't take for my son to have to die, for my eyes to be open as a white person in America.
This is from one hurting mother who's lost her only child to another hurting mother. I got your back.
Me and Miss D, we don't want you to feel the need to stand up here and do the same for your loved one.
That's right.
And I don't think people realize how easy it is that it could actually be you. Just want to get them some good looks. With our work of just putting ourselves out there and telling the stories over and over and over again, what we would like to do is take the narrative over. Everywhere we go together.
That was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Really good. So you guys, like I said, you get a chance to, how long is the total movie, you guys?
Hour and 37 minutes, I think.
Perfect. So you guys get a chance to be sure to go into wherever you stream at. Look the movie Mama up with Katie and Amity in as well. any other comments or questions you guys want to drop on us before we wrap up for tonight?
My heart goes out to you guys. It really does. I found myself gasping at part of that trailer, so I know it must be difficult for you all to watch some of that. So
Yeah, I wish that, you know, the gunshots weren't in there. They're really startling, and it's even more startling in a movie theater, right?
Yes,
Yeah, it's really horribly shocking and loud, even though you know what's coming. Like, I know what's coming every time, and it certainly doesn't make it any easier. When it happened, I put my phone down because I didn't want you guys to see my reaction. But yeah, no, it's not easy to. It's never easy to hear.
Yeah, I haven't watched. Even sitting through trial, I didn't watch a lot of that, so I never watched Dante getting pulled over and out of the car and until the movie the first time, and every time it's hard to watch.
I think it's important to people to understand that you know, I like that you understand that how you say you got to keep moving forward as far as the fight for legislation is concerned. I like that you guys are not just doing you can't judge. I mean, I'm not here to judge by it all, period, but the whole thing of like people fighting their own way, I think it's like a little bullshit saying, because if you fight in your own way, we all fighting against the same damn system. So I like how that you guys are still staying focused, you're still on task. Part of that is knowing how to move strategically, right? I was studying the letters from Birmingham with Dr. Martin Luther King, and that he was saying that part of that really is on moving strategically and stuff, because depending on who is in office at the point in time, they won't do shit. That is a real damn thing. It's a real thing for real. So I thank you all for coming on here tonight to just educate us, so we can know more about what we can do in the community and how we can all move forward collectively.
yeah,
Thanks for having us, and thanks for doing this and telling these stories.
Definitely. Thank you so much, ladies, for allowing us this opportunity, and so many other families that you have had on here, and people are able to hear the stories and hopefully able to make change.
Yeah, it's just learning from each other too as well. You can't give up, man. Like, don't you got a lot of people who they'll just take those little settlement checks and they're like, oh, okay, that ain't shit. That ain't shit. That settlement check ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Because after a while, the money is gonna run out, and then like I said again, too, the law is still the damn same. Doesn't happen to anybody at all, period or not. So we gotta still keep fighting forward. So I admire you all for, you know, still moving forward for change, for overall change.
Yes.
Not your own sons, but everybody.
Yes. So please be gentle and take good care of yourselves. And know that we're in solidarity here in Maryland with you. We might not be there physically, but our heart is with you, and we're with this fight, and we're not giving up either.
Thank you.
Yeah. This has been Life After the Impact. Find out how you can get involved. It's important.
Good night.
Send people pictures of your child's obituary.
Mhm.
Let them see why you won't give up.
That's it.
That's also, they've gotten them in the mail. They've gotten them dropped off at their office.
There you go.
Because y'all gonna remember who Amir Locke
Make
is.
them uncomfortable. Make them totally uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Like I said, keep doing whatever you need to do when something comes up in your city. And that's the thing. One problem is everybody's problem.
That's right.
And in order for them to stop doing what they're doing, you know, they're pushing this movement that is consisting of really strong people with voices. And we're not going to tire. We're not going to let in. We're going to let up. We're not going to shut up. And that's what I told you from day one. I'm not shutting up at all. Even if it's just you. One person told me, sometimes if you even do it on your own, you have the biggest voice. I could just stand outside by myself and shout justice for Amir Locke, and it's going to rain because I'm his mother. Right. So, and like I said, we are boots on the ground. Boots on the ground means, you know what, like I told them, that day when they said, we are not going to charge him, I said, y'all did y'all job, now I'm about to do mine. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Everybody can do something, that you don't have to sit home and feel helpless and hopeless.
We gotta stop allowing people to talk us out of our power. That's the main thing.
Can't change overnight, but we gotta start somewhere. Might as well go ahead, start